Hello viewers, welcome to Chris Crime Diaries. This is your Chris Barker. Margaret Douglas was a 98-year-old woman who lived alone in Wadsworth, Ohio. Margaret was born in Akron, Ohio, on September 15, 1919. She was a social person who was outgoing and self-sufficient. Throughout her life, she enjoyed working in her flower garden and traveling with her husband. Margaret and her husband Donald chose not to have children, but she had plenty of friends, neighbors, nieces and nephews to keep her company after her husband died in 2000. She was excited to turn 100 years old in 2019. Margaret's family and friends were unable to contact her in early April of 2018. They couldn't tell if she was hurt or had fallen. She hadn't been heard from since April 3rd. On April 9th, they requested that the police conduct a wellness check on the woman. Margaret's family accompanied police as they searched her home for clues as to where she might have gone. Her nephew discovered one of her shoes in a closet but soon realized it was attached to her body. Margaret was found dead in her closet, her clothing partially undone and her bra pulled up to reveal her breasts. Those who cared about Margaret were shocked. Margaret's death was determined to be due to strangulation. She had eye socket and C7 vertebrae fractures, as well as several blows to the head. The investigators noticed a sexual tone due to the position of the body and Margaret's clothing. The autopsy, however, did not provide conclusive evidence of sexual assault. The motive for this crime was unknown. Who would murder a 98-year-old woman? Except for Margaret's wallet, no valuable items were reported missing. Margaret had no enemies and was never in a fight. The crime simply did not make sense. However, there had been a few carjackings in the neighborhood around that time. Margaret's family members were interviewed by police, but they were quickly ruled out as suspects. They began to concentrate on their neighbors. One of the neighbors was extremely suspicious. He was observed watching the crime scene, speaking with reporters, and making strange comments about the crime to other neighbors. As he interjected himself into the investigation, he became a prime suspect. This neighbor described Margaret's body and figure during questioning, mentioning how attractive she was when she was younger. This, of course, heightened suspicion. The crime scene investigators took a glove from the scene that had Margaret's DNA on the outside and another sample on the inside, most likely the killer's. The prime suspect was tested for a match but failed. His strange behavior raised red flags, but he was not their murderer. As a suspect, the neighbor was ruled out. Police then turned their attention to the nearby carjackings to see if they were connected. The carjacking was captured on video, and a young man was seen getting into the vehicle with the apparent victim of the crime. The victim, however, claimed to have picked up an injured man, and the young man in the video did not appear to be injured. Finally, the victim admitted to meeting up with someone he met on an online dating app that matches older men with younger men. Instead of hooking up with him, the young man he met carjacked him. However, they were unable to identify the carjacker. A burglary was reported to police a few days after Margaret's body was discovered. They began investigating the burglary and discovered a cell phone that had been left behind. Police unlocked the phone and quickly determined that it belonged to a young man in the area who had a history of petty crime. Zach, the man, was brought in for questioning. He had scratches on him, which prompted police to suspect him. Security footage revealed that another young man, Gavon Ramsay, was also involved in the burglary. Gavon was arrested and questioned in connection with the burglaries and carjackings. He admitted to the burglaries, but claimed to have only taken items of minor value. He claimed he wasn't interested in stealing things but was more interested in the thrill of committing crimes. In addition, he admitted to catfishing the man on the dating app in order to commit the carjacking. Police charged him with petty crimes through the juvenile system and confiscated his phone to search for evidence. They discovered several searches related to Margaret Douglas' murder while on the phone. They also discovered photos and videos of Margaret Douglas that were dated April 6, 2018. What the cops discovered next shocked them to their core. Gavon Ramsay, 17, had more photos and videos of Margaret's shrinking body. The police had apprehended their assailant. Gavon has been arrested. Gavon admitted to breaking into Margaret's house through an unlocked door and photographing her while she slept. He then woke her up and began strangling her. He spent a lot of time with her corpse after he realized she was dead. He photographed her after ripping her clothes and exposing her breasts. This crime was depraved and premeditated, and of a nature never before seen in this community, said the judge in this case later. In addition, police discovered gloves matching the glove found at the crime scene in Gavon's room, as well as Margaret's wallet in his dresser drawer. In Medina County, Ohio, the 11th grader was charged as an adult with aggravated murder, aggravated burglary, kidnapping, and abuse of a corpse. Gavon Ramsay pleaded not guilty and was found guilty. He was not eligible for the death penalty because he was under the age of 18 at the time of the crime. His fate would be decided at a sentencing hearing. Gavon's mother testified that her son had mental health problems and that she had tried to help him with counseling and medication. Forensic psychologist Luna Jones examined Gavon and determined he suffered from conduct disorder, where a patient violates rules and engages in destructive and violent behavior, in addition to a sexual disorder where he is aroused by the suffering of others without their consent. Gavon was also shown to have depression, ADHD, and an addiction to alcohol and marijuana. The psychologists were convinced that if Gavon was released, he would commit a similar crime. "I wish I had the words to express how sorry I am," Gavon Ramsay said. However, a notebook discovered in his room describing his murderous fantasies led others to believe he was not remorseful and was on his way to becoming a serial killer. Gavon Ramsay was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder, as well as 10 years in prison for aggravated burglary, 10 years for aggravated kidnapping, and 12 months for abuse of a corpse. The judge ordered that the sentences be served consecutively. Gavon Ramsay has filed an appeal against his sentence. Gavon Ramsay was a disturbed adolescent who chose to murder an innocent victim. He chose vulnerable victims of opportunity, such as a 98-year-old woman. He wanted to commit crimes just for the thrill of it. The murderer displayed signs of mental illness and oppositional behavior. Perhaps the case can be used to research the warning signs of deviant behavior and assist parents and professionals in recognizing them. What are your thoughts on the Gavon Ramsay's case? I really appreciate your input. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Be a part of the Chris Crime Diaries family and hit the subscribe button now.